Let's start with our first story. And the Ghana Police Service is yet to arrest its officer who drove his vehicle into 3 unsuspecting bystanders at Atiko near Kanishi more than 24 hours ago. At least 1 person was killed while the 2 survivors are receiving treatment at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and Cocoa Clinic respectively. The policeman, who was driving a Toyota Vitz vehicle, was said to have been pursuing an errant trotro driver when he tripped over a mound and veered onto the pavement, ramming into people. Parts of the body of the deceased, identified only as Abena, were severed. Manuel Kranting of our security desk visited the scene and now reports.
These are angry residents of Atiko, a spot just off the Winneba Highway where a vehicle rammed into unsuspecting bystanders. According to eyewitnesses, the vehicle in question, a Toyota Vitz taxi, was being driven by a police officer who lost control. Here's one of them.
We all just heard loud honks from a trotro vehicle running at top speed, just drive past us. In just a few seconds, we saw a taxi tailing it. The taxi veered off the main road and knocked down 1 man there. It then crossed over to the other pavement and knocked down 1 lady. Her name is Abena. As we were wailing, a policeman emerged from the crowd. We even thought he was just here to calm the tensions until he said he was the driver of the taxi and that he was pursuing a trotro driver.
Three people were knocked down. Even though 2 of them are currently receiving medical treatment, 1 of them died on the spot.
There were nails right here, and the car crushed her into the tree. She was pinned against the tree and her left leg was almost severed. It was totally shredded. But up until now, no police officer has been here to check anything. Do you think they will do this if she was one of them?
This has left many of the vendors at the spot, which is one of the busiest bus stops on the stretch, visibly spooked. This lady has been selling breakfast meals at Atiko Junction for years.
I am extremely terrified. I couldn't even eat the whole day. Yesterday, I had to throw away all the food I had cooked.
But they blame the bad state of the road for the incident. They want the deep gullies and potholes to be fixed to avert a recurrence.
This is the second reportage that I'm doing on this bad road. And what I'm saying is that it's a major contributing factor. Because, for instance, if he was not on top speed, definitely he was going to use this outer road. Of which, knowing that people do board car here and as a bus stop, they do normally reduce the speed. Because of this bad road, they don't use the outer road again. They all use the highway. And of course, when things do happen, this is one of the things that do happen. Now we lost a life. The family is in grievances. Must we always lose life to fix and be responsible? No. All we are saying is that the little and as a quarter of the national cake, this is what the people in this area we have. Fix it for us. Fix this thing for us. When it rains, it's a canker. We have to carry people at our back. Some people charge 5 cedis to carry you and cross this road. Here becomes like a river. This gutter is choked. because all the water that is coming has to use one route. And we find ourselves terribly in situations that sometimes we feel that we are not Ghanaians or we are left out.
It is a Yankupon Yadoma, and can you pay Wahano more than something peoples into one man on my pan in my
But for God, we would have all died. We want the roads to be fixed. Our children cannot find jobs, and the roads too are bad, just killing our people.
So in just a split second, this spot, which was Abane's source of livelihood, became the spot where she breathed her last, with her bloodstains still pretty much visible. For now, her family is calling for justice to be served, while the residents here, many of whom are really concerned, call for the immediate fixing of the road, which they say was a major contributing factor to this incident. For JoyNews, my name is Manuel Kranti.
But more than 24 hours after this shocking incident, the police says it is yet to arrest the driver of the vehicle, who was identified by eyewitnesses as a police officer. ASP Kingsley Kanda is the Odoko Divisional MTTD commander.
According to my investigator, he did not meet him. He did not meet him, the police officer there. But he met the three victims. We've not seen the driver. It's the driver that we've not seen. It is alleged that he's a police officer, but I've not seen him. So I've asked my investigator to follow up to the hospital and check if you can get his details. The rifle was taken from the car at then. You know, the rifles have no marks, though we have serial numbers on them, but we can not say that maybe this rifle is from this station or that station. That's why we know, but we are doing our best. We are doing our best. We'll get him. We'll get him. Learn here, he cannot walk. And he's also undergoing treatment.
But in the past 24 hours since the incident happened, the confirmation gets.
Well, security analyst Adam Bona has been reacting. He says he is disappointed at the police officer and demands his dismissal.
Surprised at the posture of the MTTD commander in the area, Israel.
So essentially he is saying that they haven't really been able to identify the gentleman and that it is alleged that he's a police officer.
How can he say it's alleged that he's a police officer? The gentleman drove a vehicle. She drove a vehicle. Who is the vehicle registered to? Whether it was a taxi or it was not a taxi, who is the vehicle registered to? Where is the location? What is the location address of the vehicle? Obviously, someone was driving that vehicle. And so, I'm told from your report, he followed the victims to the hospital. And so if you follow them to the hospital, there are surveillance cameras. There are surveillance cameras all the way from wherever this incident took place to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And so to say you don't know, and these cameras, and this happened, I think from the footages I've seen during the day, these cameras are able to capture images of persons, in the driving seat. And so it should give some clear indication of who, whether it's a male or it's a female, someone approximately a certain age, a certain height. All this information would show. And so it is this is my imagination, how the MTTD commander comes out to say, we don't know who he is, and we are still investigating. I don't think the kind of policing Dampare is, discharging in this day and age in this country. is what this police MTTD commander seems to be doing. I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
Now, eventually, if he's found, what would you expect to happen?
No, what he's done is criminal. I mean, what he has done, dangerous driving. People have gone to prison for this type of driving. So if I obviously believe he's a police officer, so the police would have to investigate him. You have police officers, I'm sure some of them are listening to me, who own private vehicles. Their own service regulation requires them to inform the Inspector General of Police if you want to own a private or a commercial venture. Most of them have trotros in their numbers, taxis in their numbers, Okada bikes in their numbers, and they have not informed the IGP. So probably the IGP should begin to look into it. But the criminal aspect of it should be looked into. And probably those who have been injured, compensation and all that should probably extend it to these people, Israel.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Adam Bona, for sharing your insights with us. Now, the medical superintendent at the Exim Government Hospital in the Western Region, who is now a witness to the case of alleged fake pregnancy and kidnapping in Takrady, Dr. Jerry James Abobra.
So from that dastardly incident, let's talk about basic schools reopening. And after a long wait, the Ghana Education Service has announced the reopening of all public basic schools in the country. In the past week, many stakeholders, including policy think tank Africa Education Watch, have expressed worry over the delays to reopen public schools in the country. Now, earlier this week, some private schools reopened, leaving their counterparts in the public schools at home. This sparked arguments among the various stakeholders. According to the GES, it delayed the reopening of schools to deal with some gaps and challenges it identified in the current timetable since the introduction of the semester system, which ran along the trimester system in the basic schools. Now, at a news conference on Thursday, January 13, 2022, the GES announced that all schools were to reopen on Tuesday, January the 18th, 2022. This includes kindergarten, primary and junior high school. The GES hopes the new timetable will help deal with the identified gaps in the timetable. This was announced by the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa.
As we are all aware, we've been in the news for some time now. We indicated to you that we were working on the calendar. The minister set a committee to look at the calendar and to ensure that various challenges that we have with the calendar previously may not occur. We also needed to align the calendar for both the junior highs and then the basic schools. If you remember last year, for example, we introduced a calendar that the junior highs were running semester, but the primary KG had the trimester. This time round, we felt the need to align them, especially at that level where we know that a lot of time the children go to school together. So when you break them, it becomes an issue. So we needed to do that. Then, as we said in our various correspondence, various write-ups, TVET has also joined us, and we felt the need to align our calendar with them. And let me indicate that even though I am announcing it, the TVET schools are equally going to use this calendar for their programs. So the committee worked, they finished, they presented to the minister looked at it and made the suggestions, we worked on it, and finally we've got it well done. We indicated also that we are working to come up with a calendar that goes beyond 2022. We are about finalizing that bit of it, but we can't keep waiting till that is done. And for that matter, the 2022 calendar, which is ready, we have called you here to announce it. And for the second cycle schools, We have SHS 3 and SHS 2 going to school on Monday, 7th February 2022. Then SHS 1 will go to school on 4th April 2022. But we have indicated that their time is tentative. Tentative in the sense that their BEC results, it's yet to be released by WAEC. From the timelines that WAEC has given to us, we hope that we will be able to work and get the students to go to school by 4th April. So we've made provision in the unlikely event that they are not able to finish on that. We've made provision for that. That's why we said tentative. Now, let me give some further explanation on the Form 3s. The Form 3s, as we speak now, are in school. They are in Form 2. And they are finishing their academic year on the 28th of January. The Form 2s, as we speak now, they are in school. They are in Form 1. And they are finishing their academic year on the 28th of January. What it means is that when they finish the academic year, they will come home for 1 week, 10 days. They will come home for 10 days. From 28th to the 7th, will give us about some 10 days. So we give them some rest, and then we move on to the next academic year. And this is not something that will be happening for the first time. When we introduced the double track, we've always had this arrangement. Then for the basic schools, as I indicated, we want to align, this time around, want to align their dates. And so we've introduced for them as well a semester program, but the semester, for each semester we have 2 sections. And we'll do the presentation presently, and you'll see for each semester we have 2 sessions. And they are all going to school on Tuesday, 18th January 2022, which is next week.
Well, let's talk now about UTAG-related matters. And a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampo, has responded to a comment by the head of public affairs at the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to the effect that unhappy teachers should resign. Speaking on Accra-based 3FM on Thursday, Mr. Ankra said members of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, who are currently on strike, cannot continue with the industrial action if they want to enter into meaningful negotiations towards an amicable resolution of the matter. According to Mr. Ankra, if the disgruntled lecturers are unhappy with their conditions of service, they should resign. You cannot negotiate while you're on strike, so they must call off the strike before they can engage, he said. That is what the Labour Commission will recommend per the law. If the employee is not happy with anything, the best thing is to resign. But in a Facebook post on Thursday, Professor Jampo indicated that telling teachers that if they weren't happy with their conditions of service, they should resign was the most foolish talk that could only proceed from the buccal cavity of a small-minded person who couldn't fully benefit from formal education. Speaking on JoyNews on Sunday, he stressed that the planned industrial action reflects the association's anger over government's failure to honor its promises to them. According to him, UTAG is only interested in seeking the welfare of its members, stressing that the impending strike is devoid of any political underpinnings. Now, Dr. Clementa Parker, Deputy Ranking Member of Parliament's Education Committee, has made some observations that we'll be bringing your way. He's been talking about the fact that government has not necessarily delivered on what it should do as far as the university teachers are concerned. Let's hear from him.
We ought not to be blaming lecturers. We ought to be blaming the employer. in this case government, for failing to fulfill its obligations, including pledges and assurance, when UTAG sometime last year decided to put down its tools for the very same reasons which has pushed them to put down their tools in a much more, forceful way, so to speak, this time. You see, government has a responsibility to ensure that state institutions function the way they ought to. Government also carries the public purse, and it is the responsibility of government representing the citizens to act accordingly, according to law, according to precedent, and with integrity. In the case of government dealing with UTAG, I don't think that government has dealt with UTAG fairly, and government clearly has not shown integrity and sincerity in as far as the impasse is concerned. We all know that when UTAG decided to go on strike last year, at a time when the students were preparing to write their final year exams, a partial strike, because UTAG had withdrawn teaching and other services, but had decided that their members would undertake other administrative obligations. Government then decided to engage UTAG. And the reason why UTAG gave at that time was that they felt that government was not taking the organization or the union seriously. They started many times when they would go to meetings and none of the key ministers would be there, and in this case, ministers for education, health, employment and labor. Times when only one minister out of the three would be there. And so they had gotten tired of going to meetings where one or the other minister wouldn't be there, or sometimes nobody there with the capacity to make. I remember they had resisted because they had lost faith in the government side. It took the vice president, current vice president, to intervene, and pledges were made that their issues would be addressed. Several months down the line, nothing had been done. And it is as a result of nothing being done that UTAG decided to go on a full-blown strike as we are currently experiencing. So if this issue is going to be resolved, it is going to have to take government to do the needful, because the assurances given and the pledges that were made were the reasons why UTAG decided to go back to the classroom last year.
Well, the African Center for Energy Policy is alleging that the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation is seeking to assign interest in some of Ghana's oil blocks to Jubilee Oil Holdings, a company registered in the tax haven of the Cayman Islands. ASEP claims its checks have revealed that this company is registered with Dr. K.K. Sapong, CEO of the GNPC, and Freddie Blay, board chairman of the GNPC, as directors. These allegations were leveled by ASEP's policy lead for petroleum and conventional energy, Kojo Yauche, at a news conference. There is more in the following report.
The alleged transaction relates to GNPC's quest to acquire 7% commercial interest in oil blocks. GNPC in 2021 announced moves to acquire the said interest, adding that to be transferred to its subsidiary company. ASEP, however, claims that discovered that GNPC rather intends to assign the interest to Jubilee Oil Holdings.
ASEP supports the acquisition of the 7% interest in the Jubilee and 10 fields. However, the right processes must be followed in respect of Ghanaian laws and proper corporate governance practices that project GNPC among its peers on accountability benchmarks. In addition, how the corporation has become broke from a strong cash position in the early years of oil production is a major subject for government's attention. Otherwise, additional interest will not necessarily produce a better corporation. Again, the PRMA reflects the country's philosophy on the management of petroleum resources. It is not the enemy of GNPC. The corporation must find ways to fit into that philosophy to advance the overall national interest, rather than the attempts to evade the dictates of the PRMA with convoluted schemes such as the new efforts to relocate assets in Ghana to the Cayman Islands.
Mr. Yauche has been given some additional details regarding its search on Jubilee Holdings.
GNPC at the time of communicating to the public knew that its intention was to assign the interest to a company called Jubilee Oil Holdings Limited, registered in the Cayman Islands, with Dr. KK Sapon and Mr. Freddie Blay as directors. ASEP's search has not yet ascertained the beneficial owners of Jubilee Oil Holdings. It is important to note that the representation of the CEO and board chair of GNPC with their names in the General Registry of Cayman Islands is not enough proof that GNPC is the owner of Jubilee Oil Holdings. However, in the absence of evidence on shareholders of Jubilee Oil Holdings, we proceed with the assumption that GNPC owns the company. While the corporation has not provided public information on the strategic essence of this approach, the unofficial explanation received by ASEP indicates that the corporation intends to use the offshore company to pay off the loans for the acquisition before the interest reverts to Exploco.
GNPC or government has not commented on these allegations.
We take a break from here. When we return, we'll be connecting live to the UPSA auditorium for that Constitutional Day or Constitution Day public lecture. We'll be right back.